2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
Why are we so afraid of our sexuality?
Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
All right, Brandon, before we jump in and have some fun with that, it was really nice seeing you this weekend.
Yeah. I love going up to Logan. Tyler's got a really cool setup up there with the horses and things. There's this arena. So we did some what's called equine therapy. I actually was a participant, and so were you, Tyler.
Yeah, it was fun. I actually got paired up with Chase as my partner.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really good. And Tyler's wife facilitated it. And I just got to say, like, us humans, I mean, we're decent at therapy, but horses are better.
Horses have something that most of us as human beings really fight to keep, and that's just straight integrity.
Yeah, and because of that, they reflect back just kind of automatically to you what you put out and how you're showing up in life and in the world, and you can't hide from it. When you're trying to get a horse to do a 360 or whatever, that horse will let you know who you are and what you're doing and how you're showing up. And it really, if you're willing to look at it and self-reflect, you'll start to see how a lot of those things show up in the relationships around you as well. So it was awesome. It was really good. So I highly recommend equine therapy.
It was really cool to have you. We actually had you and a couple of our other siblings come with their partners. And so not only did we do like an equine experience and it was kind of therapeutic, but it was also just really cool to see everybody and spend some time. So
just hanging out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, well, Tyler, I want to dig right into this topic today. This is one of my favorite topics that I'm most passionate about. So I want to just kind of expose this conundrum that happens with recovery that I think is really important. And it's this. I believe that one of the most important elements of recovery is going from a state of self-rejection and shame to a state of self-acceptance and self-compassion. And it's really fascinating to me when sex addiction is the topic. Sex has been so paired with shame that it's really uncomfortable and confusing to have accepting sexuality and really embracing one's sexuality as part of the equation for recovery. Yet I believe it's critical for recovery. And I think it's critical for recovery, both for the person who struggled with addiction, but also for the partner who's a sexual being as well. But sex is so surrounded by fear that it's almost like, no, we don't want to go there. Like, that's too scary. That's too hard. We don't want to go there. So do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, Brandon, exactly. I think where you started with the idea of, self-acceptance, self-compassion, that element is so vitally important in recovery that it includes all parts of us. And so it does sound a little bit backwards, especially when you look at it from like traditional recovery work. And when you look at it from the place where sex in some ways has been the source of so much pain, that part of the answer to recovery is integrating and embracing healthy sexuality instead of just shunning it or stopping it or trying to push it away, which does seem a little bit counterintuitive sometimes.
It's almost like it feels like the thing that's going to help cure me is the poison a little bit, is how it could feel.
That's what it sounds like sometimes.
It sounds like where what I'm saying is embracing sexuality is absolutely critical to healing. And so, but let's back up a little bit, Tyler. So this starts a long time ago in our lives. So when I'm a 12-year-old boy, 13-year-old boy, or if you're a 13-year-old girl or adolescent girl, all of a sudden those hormones start up, right? And by the way, I remember being sexual even before puberty. Like, I remember having sexual feelings, and you get naked and you lay under a blanket or something, and there's arousal there. Like, little boys can be aroused, little girls can be aroused. So at a really young age, well, from really the time we're born, we're sexual beings. And what happens is we start to develop, we start to get into puberty and things like that. And those hormones start to rage, and very much sexuality and sex occupies our headspace and affects our bodies, right? Now, with that, as that's happening in development, if there's messages from family, from mom and dad, from religion, from wherever that say, that's weird, or it's awkward, or that's bad, you better shut that down. You better control that. Because that's that thing that, like, we don't really want to talk about, notice, or go there with you. So hide that. And almost automatically with our cultural systems, we feed this narrative of, you better keep that to yourself and keep that secret. And to girls, it's a message of, like, you shouldn't be that sexual because you're female. And to boys, it's a message of, you better control it because you're way too sexual. So you better shut that down and pretend like it's not there. So at a very young age, those are the messages that start to come in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, Brandon. I actually think it's like there's two sides to this that make it really difficult in the world that we live in. And the one side is the one you're talking about, which is, and I want to actually break this down a little bit too with you and discuss it, is that we're raised in such a way that the messages that we're being taught by the places that we trust the most, I think, are well-intentioned in the sense that they're saying they want to protect us in some way. They want us to, like,
sure,
be protected. But what ends up happening is that when you have something naturally occurring inside of you, those feelings of sexual feelings, that curiosity that starts to turn on. And then you have the message saying, stifle that, shut it down, or whatever else it is. There's this vacuum that then starts to be created. And then on the other side of it, you've got this industry, the pornography industry, the sexual industry, that's going to capitalize on it now. And they're going to say, well, there is this vacuum. We'll fill the space, and we're going to teach you all about sexuality, but they're going to do it in their way, which is also not necessarily healthy. So then what ends up happening is take that 13-year-old kid, that 13-year-old boy or girl who's got those questions. They don't feel like they can now go to the places that they trust because they feel like they should be shutting those feelings down. And that those are things that are, quote, sacred, which in our culture is don't talk about, secret, which is a misrepresentation of what those should actually be. So where am I going to go to take those feelings? And there I am, finding myself with this free education that's now being offered to me, but it's also being offered from a place that's not necessarily healthy. It's
right. But Tyler, that free education also is accompanied with massive amounts of dopamine hits, and because they're just playing off that natural thing, that natural response
drive
and reaction, natural drive that everybody has. And I love how you're outlining this, because when church and when family and when those type of systems shy away from education and shy away from acceptance and acknowledgement that sexuality is absolutely a real thing, a God-given thing, when those things push away from that, then there's nowhere else to go. And now almost every 13-year-old has a phone, has a computer, has an outlet to be like, hey, let me Google something up because my curiosity is running wild. Whether or not church or mom or dad or whatever tell me that I shouldn't, like, it's there, it's running wild. And there's a place that I can get answers and I can get dopamine at the same time. And I've already learned how to somewhat hide and pretend like I'm not a sexual being. Like, I've already been conditioned into doing that. So I can just keep doing that. I can get more sophisticated at it. I can get better at it. And I can keep this, we call it education, but I can keep this, acting out going because I can just, pull the wool over people's eyes. And what we're describing in this whole process is what I call a shame machine. So this whole system on both sides creates feelings deep within, and deep within an adolescent, within a person, of, if people really knew me, they wouldn't love me, or I'm bad and unworthy of God's love. I'm not okay as I am. And so, and that's where the real damage starts to get done. Not only are they numbing their emotions out with acting out with pornography and things like that, and not learning how to regulate their life through healthy emotion regulation, but deep down, the real damage is losing an understanding of who they actually are and their value, and that's where all kinds of consequences come from, when somebody starts to really believe those faulty core beliefs.
Yeah, it's basically, as you're talking, Browning, I'm picturing like this two-sided funnel, and at either end of the funnel there's shame. So if I'm overly like rigid and I don't talk about sexuality and I try to shut it down, but I am a sexual being, but I try to deny it, at the end of that funnel there's shame. And at the other end of the funnel, it's like, well, do whatever you want, like come pursue whatever you want, get this dopamine hit. You can have hours and hours of education for free, education in quotes, and we'll give you everything that you want. Even without the moral underpinnings, most people at that end of the funnel, they feel like something's off, something's not quite right.
Right.
And the problem is that both of those two ends of the funnel, they polarize themselves further and further apart. And instead of finding balance in the middle, they just drive more and more shame.
Yeah.
And that's the difficult thing is that now I can sit here as, if I'm say like a very highly rigid religious parent, I'm going to go, that porn industry, that right there is really, really terrible. Like they're going to ruin your life. That is the devil. Right. And and the porn industry is like, sweet. They just shut their kid down. That kid's going to come to us anyway because they got this drive. We can do whatever we want now. And there's going to be, and here's what you're saying, Brandon, is now it's not just the sexual acting out or not acting out that's in play. There's a set of beliefs and there's a set of patterns of behavior that is now starting to form as well, where it's like, I'm bad either way. That means I better keep all of my thoughts and feelings secret. That means I better start to hide the things that I do. And then those things become patterns of living. And it's not just in the sexual realm anymore. It becomes a way of life in a lot of ways. And then, and then think about what that does to relationships and how it unravels relationships, especially as we get older. We try to find a significant other. And Brandon, like think about the couples that we work with where you get maybe a partnership where one comes from the side of having been viewing pornography for a long time. The other comes from this side of like, I don't even know what sex is. And then you put them together in a marriage and what happens there?
Right. Right. Confusion, like a lot of rejection and confusion and a lot of chaos. I'm glad you brought this up, Tyler, because I want to fast forward to later on in life. Hey, Tyler, we get the question all the time, how do I get into your groups and how do I get the therapy that I need?
We frequently have groups starting in an online fashion so you can get help wherever you are in the world. You can find a group that will help you with the things that we talk about. Brandon, how do they find you?
liftforrecovery.com. You can get into my Lift group. It's a full comprehensive group program, both for betrayal trauma and sex addiction. And it's awesome. So I'd love to have you there. What about you, Tyler?
We run what's called a Foundations of Recovery group, which is for both betrayal trauma and addiction as well, all online. And it covers the basics of recovery, shame resiliency, mindfulness, a toolbox, helping to cope with healing, and also different kinds of communication. And you can find that at lovestrong.com.
So there's options. There's no excuse now. If you are ready to work recovery, you can come work with me or you can come work with Tyler and you'll get the help you need at either one of our programs. So come and join us
at lovestrong.com or
liftforrecovery.com. From development, a young age, I learned these things. These faulty core beliefs start to really solidify my identity. I get into a marriage and I might think, well, when I get married, then my sexuality is going to get taken care of because now I'm married and it's just like sex all the time. And, and that's one of the big myths. That's a fallacy, is that all of a sudden you get married and all the sexual stuff is taken care of and everybody's happy. That's not how it works. So I get married and deep down, I'm feeling I'm disgusting. I'm bad. And so I shame screen with my partner. I'm not vulnerable. I'm not open. I hide things that I do. And the marriage goes on. And as the marriage goes on, there's this element of disconnect and push away from my partner, which starts to shatter the trust in the relationship, the foundation of safety there. As that foundation is shattered more and more, the partner wants less connection in the relationship and builds up more resentment, or just feels worse, right? And is suffering in that relationship. And this is all happening while the person who's really rejecting themselves is hiding, is manipulating, is just avoiding every way possible from actually being seen, because deep down they feel like they're flawed because because of their sexuality in many ways. Okay, so all of a sudden, it all breaks open, right? The cop shows up at the front door, or less so, the partner walks in and catches their partner acting out and sees the history on the computer or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
It all busts open.
D-Day happens.
D-Day happens. So the first initial reaction and response is actually counterproductive to real healing. Because, Tyler, what's the first initial reaction and response?
From which partner? Both?
Yeah, from both, actually.
Yeah.
When it comes to the sexuality piece, what's the first reaction and response?
It basically shut down. It's lock it up, right? It's I'm terrible because I was doing these things. So now I'm gonna shut everything down.
Yep.
So the view on sexuality is actually the problem, instead of noticing that the way that I'm using the behaviors and the patterns around those behaviors as the problem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So the fact that I'm a sexual being isn't the problem. It's the fact that I'm using my sexuality with this base level of dishonesty and self-indulgence and other things that's causing the problem. But then the answer is, well, let's shut that thing down. So right. I'll never have sexual thoughts again. I'll never have sexual feelings or urges again. Like, I'm just going to kill that part of myself.
Yep. When the pain of betrayal happens, both partners feel like the very lie that I've been hiding from, that I'm disgusting, wrong, perverted, it's actually true. Because look, I got caught doing something sexual, and look at the damage. Look at it. It was true all along. And what you just said, Tyler, is really important for people to understand, because you as a sexual being is not the problem. The problem is all of the stuff that's created by the shame of you feeling around your sexuality. And that's what's caused the long-term lying in the relationship, the lack of vulnerability, the lack of authenticity, and all these things in that relationship.
Yes. The problem is a lack of healthy sexual integration. So the reason that I'm acting out in the first place is because I don't have healthy sexual integration in my life. So that's why it's coming out in this acting out for sort of a way, which is causing all sorts of carnage in my life and eventually in the lives of those around me. It's because I haven't actually learned like healthy sexuality.
Yeah. Yes. I've learned fear and control, which has led to shame and disconnection. And so when you and I say part of the healing process is for all parties involved to love and accept their sexual selves, that's what we mean, is to stop the fear and control, stop the shame systems, and start with some grace and acceptance and love of who you are. Now, I've gotten some nasty emails, Tyler, from people when, I talk about going to the beach and seeing a woman in a bikini, or whatever. I had a client, a woman I was talking to, and she's like, man, I walked past the magazine aisle and I saw this guy on this magazine, and it got me a little excited. Right. So, when I talk about these things, going to the beach and seeing a woman in a bikini, the reason why I get those emails is why. And the emails that I get is, how dare you? How dare you tell sex addicts that it's okay to notice a woman in a bikini? Why do I get those emails?
It's being seen though, Brandon, from the place of where the pain has been caused, right? So like if the source of my pain has been that my partner has been looking outward in the marriage, then any place that looks like it feels like it's looking outward is going to feel like a threat. So when you say that, it's hard to have the middle ground understanding that there needs to be fidelity in a relationship for it to be strong, and there needs to be honesty and integrity with the processes that are going on inside of the partner.
Yes.
Emotionally, mentally, physically, all of those things. And what ends up happening is what we too often get is we get someone who's just basically being dishonest with their own processes in order to appease their partner by saying, oh yeah, like I don't notice anything. I don't feel anything anymore. What sexual feelings? Like I didn't have any of that stuff. And it's like, well, there's a continued lack of integrity, back into the shame spiral, same thing, right? But when you look at it the other way, like you can't blame a partner for being upset when you hear, yeah, it's going to be natural for your partner to notice certain things. That's danger, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
But Tyler, can fidelity exist and honesty about my sexuality exist at the same time? Like, do both of those exist? Because I totally hear what you're saying. What you're saying is like, when a partner is coming to this and they've been lied to for years and years, and they've been told that, hey, I'm not sexual and I'm not acting out and I'm not doing any of this stuff. And then all of a sudden they find out that you are. It's like, I don't believe anything you really say. So when you say, yeah, I'm attracted to this woman on the beach, yikes, like, you've hurt me with your sexuality in the past.
Yes.
Like, yikes, like, that does feel perverted and because, but back to my original question, can fidelity exist and honesty and vulnerability about who you are as a sexual being at the same time in a relationship?
Yes, that's when you've got two integrated people who understand that process and are willing to be open and curious with each other about it. With what you're saying, though, Brandon, I think this is something that it's really hard, because I think there's a dialectic involved here with understanding two things. Where we've gone in the past, traditionally, the addiction world has said exactly that: shut it down. Like, you just shut down your sexuality, you're going to be good. But now we're starting to see that hasn't really been that effective. And I think what ends up happening sometimes is it's just like that two-sided funnel. The pendulum swings all the way to the other side, and it's like, no shame at all. Like, no shame. You're a sexual being. Let it be what it is. Do whatever you want. And that end of the spectrum also doesn't really work, because it's not acknowledging the need to treat sex with respect, in the sense that there needs to be healthy boundaries and limits around our sexuality while we still embrace the sexuality. Yeah. And so what people hear when they hear what you say, that is like, oh, there it goes. Like, okay, self-compassion, but now he can go do whatever he wants. It's like, no, not really. Right. It's there needs to be healthy limits and boundaries, and an embracing of the fact that that's going to be part of who I am.
Right.
Right.
I sex therapists and sex addiction therapists have been known to be at odds with each other. Because a sex therapist is very sex positive, accept everything. I worked with a therapist in the past. She specialized in kink therapy. I don't even know what that means. But then sex addiction therapists are at odds with sex therapists, because in many of the models that they've been taught, it's a sobriety model of, let's figure out how to force and control you not to be a sexual being, right? And so you can see why sex therapists don't like that. You could also see why sex addiction therapists aren't loving like kink therapy, right?
Right.
But here's what I think, Tyler, and it's what you're saying is, I think instead of being at odds with each other, these philosophies, I actually think they need to intermingle. And we've had discussions about this, but with really understanding how to be a person who steps into their power and can really regulate themselves. So I can accept myself as a sexual being completely. I can accept my fantasies. I can accept, my thoughts and how I feel. I can accept all of those things. And when I accept those things, I allow myself to be mindful that they're there, and acknowledge that they're there. And when I acknowledge that they're there, I can trust myself to then regulate and choose what I want to step into and what I don't want to step into. And from a extreme sex therapist point of view, they'd say, don't regulate at all. From a sex addictions therapist point of view, who's extremely rigid, they would say, don't accept fantasy. Don't accept any of that stuff in, right? And neither one of these creates healthy self-acceptance, which then lets you step into personal healthy control and boundaries with your sexuality, right?
Right, exactly, Brandon. And that's the battle. So it makes sense that if I've developed a pattern of mishandling my sexuality by the overconsumption of things sexual and by sexually acting out and not having bridled those things in a certain way, that it would make sense that part of my recovery would be that I really need to learn how I need to learn how to bridle those things into things that are going to be healthy in my life.
Right.
So there is some merit to saying, you know what, I am going to probably have to learn some healthy boundaries here. And I'm going to have to learn boundaries in the context of all the things that are important to me, including my other relationships, especially my primary relationship with other people. The answer, though, the answer to getting those boundaries isn't to kill off the part that's there. It's to actually learn and understand that part that's there, what drives it, where it comes from, becoming curious with it, and then making choices according to ultimately the person that I want to be, the complete person that I want to be, the partner that I want to be, the father that I want to be, all of those things. And then to start to live in congruence with that person that I want to be, I'm going to need some boundaries. I look at like sexuality and, you know, you've heard me say this probably before, but in a lot of ways it's, you know, you use like nitroglycerin. Nitroglycerin is used literally to heal broken hearts. It's something, sex is powerful and it can be beautiful and it can be connecting and it can be so many amazing things. And it also blows stuff up if it doesn't have the proper boundaries. Right. And so I don't want to go get rid of it completely. I lose all of the benefits of healing a broken heart, but I also need to make sure that it's being channeled in a way that's going to be used in healthy ways instead of in ways that are going to be damaging and cause carnage too.
Right. I love what you're saying. I would go further. I'd say sex isn't just this like fun thing that like it feels good and connects you as a couple and blah, blah, blah. Like all that's true. I would say sexuality is very much at the core of our purpose, as much as spirituality and our emotions and those type of things. Like our self-acceptance with our sexuality is extremely critical to us feeling in alignment with God and what we do. And that might blow over some people's heads, but it's absolutely critical. And so when we do shove it down, when we hide it, when we have shame all around it, there's a reason why the adversary is shooting shame at sexuality so hard, because it's awesome, pivotal, and amazing, and important. Yeah. Heck, Tyler, I made my kids through sex. Like, I don't know what's more important. I don't know what's more important than that, right? So yeah, I want to just give an example before we wrap up here and have you just kind of dissect this. So Valentine's Day is coming up, and let's say my wife and I, we sit down to a movie. We turn on like this chick flick, and it's this movie, and it's a really good one, and there's just a beautiful lead actress in the movie, right? And there's a really good looking lead actor, and they're doing things that's kind of inciting feelings, right? That's kind of what a chick flick's about, right?
It's kind of designed to do that, sure.
Yeah. And that lead actress is just like attractive. And so I'm watching it, and my wife knows that she's attractive. Like, she can tell. She's like, wow, like, yeah, she's stunningly beautiful. And not just attractive physically, but her character too is just attractive, right? So we're watching this movie, and this is all made up, by the way, but it could happen. And so my wife turns to me and is like, gosh, what do you think of her? Is she attractive? Like, how you feeling about her? First off, I want to ask you, at that juncture, what do I do?
Okay. Well, I think you just be honest. I know that this is something that's really difficult, but why not just say, yeah, she's really beautiful.
Okay. Am I objectifying her? Am I lusting? Am I sinning?
It depends.
Is my sexuality or my attraction to this other female who's not my wife?
It depends on what you're doing with that.
Okay. Keep going. What do you mean?
Okay. Well, if I'm sitting there and I'm like going, Well, lust is the pursuit of something that's not my reality, right? So if I'm sitting there watching the movie and going like, man, what would it be like to be with her? And man, I'm going to fantasize about that, and I'm going to get all excited. I'm going to continue to pursue those thoughts, and well, then what I'm really doing is I'm setting myself up for more pain and suffering in the long run, because that would be lustful. And I'm kind of like, I'm disappearing away from what's in front of me, which is my relationship with my wife as we watch the movie, and I'm disappearing into a different world where I'm going somewhere else. And then when I have to be pulled back from that world, it's going to be painful, because I will have opened up a whole bunch of things that are not my reality. Right.
Okay.
So this goes into like understanding basic beliefs about how we view our own sexuality as well. I can notice that she's beautiful. I can be physically attracted to her. I can even notice that there's like this sexual, like, whoa, there's some energy there. And I should be able to embrace that. And my wife and I should be able to have that discussion back and forth. And I think that would all be within the scope of being human inside of a relationship, right? I don't think personally for myself that if I were to disappear and like fantasize about this other lady for the next 2 hours, that I'm going to be effective inside my relationship with my wife in the aftermath.
I think, Tyler, trust and safety are key here. Is she says, are you attracted to her? And I'm like, yeah, she's beautiful. And my wife trusts me and I have some real safety with her. She might say to me back, I think she's beautiful too. Like, man, her character is stunning. Holy cow. She's a beautiful woman. And me and my wife have this connection, and it's like, wow, yeah, this is a great movie, right? If there's not trust and safety, or if my partner really has some of her own shame and her own stuff, that's going to be a very difficult conversation, right? Mm-hmm. But like, if I'm open to, yeah, this is who I am as a sexual being, and I'm being open about that, having some discussions with my partner, my wife, whatever, and she feels safe with me and knows that I'm not going to go lust all night long after this other woman, or have an affair because I watched this movie, then that's actually an opportunity for some real connection and some real vulnerability in the relationship together. Right? Now, if I'm watching that movie and she turns to me and she says, is she attractive to you? And I say, no, I mean,
carry on.
Yeah, she's pretty, but like, I'm not attracted at all to her.
Yeah.
What does that do? That it's the same system that we've talked about.
Facilitates less trust.
I'm hiding. I'm destroying trust. All those things are happening there with my partner, right?
Yes.
And so it starts with trusting myself, of me being able to say, yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, and I can handle your wrath or your feelings about that. And if I can do that consistently over time, you'll trust me more and realize that I can be who I am and be a compatible partner with you who creates fidelity with you at the same time.
The key to that, Brandon, on the other side is that there does need to actually be legitimate fidelity and trust. And so when you work with couples like the ones we work with, a lot of times that's already been blown out of the water. So it's really hard to be like, had to have this discussion, because there isn't a basis of trust or fidelity yet. Right. And that's where the individual work of recovery has to be taking place.
Yeah. But Tyler, the thing, and this is a really hard thing for a couple, because the thing that builds trust is not him faking it like it's not there. Like pretending like, no. Like I'm totally sober and I have no sexual feelings other than toward you. That doesn't build trust. And so it's this thing, and navigating it with a therapist is really helpful, of I'm going to learn how to step into my authentic self with you, and also heap on loads of empathy of how scary this is for you. Like, I'm going to be there for you as I realize how scary this is for you. But I'm gonna choose to be an authentic, honest human and partner with you now, because I want to actually establish trust.
Right. But then the other side to a trust is the effort on the other side of it, which is that I need to stop doing the things that are blowing our relationship up as well.
Yeah.
So if I keep doing those things, then come in and be like, but that's just who I am. Like, like that, I'm just that kind of a being. Like, well, then you probably shouldn't be in that relationship, because that's not going to work.
If you're only showing up authentic when you're disclosing your sexual stuff, but everywhere else you're hiding in this and that, and like, that will never work.
It doesn't work. But I shared this a long time ago in a different episode, but I think it's worth sharing here again. I remember as we were kind of getting into the depths of our own recovery, this was a ways into it. We went out to eat one night, and we went through the line to get our food. And then we sat down right next to the drink machine that was there, and we were eating. And a woman came through the line that was just a really beautiful woman. And she was wearing like really revealing clothes with no bra. Basically, you could see everything. And I noticed it, and I was like, oh man, like here comes this discussion that we're going to have again. And she came through the drink machine, and she got her drink, and my wife noticed her too. And I noticed my wife notice her. And then we continued our conversation back and forth with each other.
Were you more afraid that you were noticing her, or that your wife was noticing that you could notice her?
Well, at that time it was both, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
okay.
but I noticed her. I noticed that she was really beautiful. I noticed that what she was wearing and things. And then my wife did too. And I noticed that my wife noticed, but then we just continued our conversation. And then the woman came, got her drink, left, passed through, and was gone. And my wife said, Tyler, did you notice her? I said, yeah, I noticed her. She said, did you think she was pretty? I said, yeah, she was beautiful. Did you notice she wasn't wearing a bra? Yeah, I noticed that too. And she said, thanks for staying with me. And then we just continued to talk, and we had our discussion. Right. And we had a really nice night the rest of the night. And to hear that work in my wife going, okay, I could hear that she was asking those questions because she was doing her own work. And I was able to give her honest answers, and we were both able to go, yeah, like, but we're here together. Like, but, and we were able to carry on with our discussion and have a good rest of our night. Like, that to me was a sign that we were making really good progress together as a couple.
Well, I love this story because as you tell it, Tyler, I can kind of feel the uncomfortableness of that situation, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the ultimate goal is to get to a place where it's not uncomfortable, right? But I like this story because it's those moments of authenticity when there is some fear there about like, oh my gosh, my wife could totally freak out, but I'm still going to choose honesty, right? It's those moments that if you do that consistently, that, hey, I'm willing to be honest with you, over time, it builds that foundation that we've been talking about, that then makes it very easy to be more open and authentic in the relationship, right?
Exactly.
If you would have bailed on that in that moment, you would have taken steps backwards, and just really created some unsafety with her that you've done in the past, right?
Yes, that used to be the thing in the past. Like I'd lie or I'd pretend I didn't notice or whatever. And so that was where the step was for us. Now we're to a place where we'll go somewhere in public, and my wife will be the one to say, "Wow, that woman's got beautiful eyes," or "Wow, like," and I'll go, "Yeah, she's really pretty," and then we kind of move on, and we're able to just kind of go throughout our day. But it's not something that like is a threat now. And the other side of this equation, Brown, that you're discussing is not just the willingness to have the discussion, but it also was paired up with the work that was going on behind the scenes, where I wasn't going to go blow up our lives by going and acting out afterwards, or disappearing, or checking out, or whatever else was going to go on. And
in the world, a woman with a bra is going to walk in once in a while.
Once in a while, you can't help it.
That's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't help it. But I also didn't need to be like, sit there and be like, well, it's just who I am, and I'm just going to like objectify her and maybe go out to the parking lot and follow her out or whatever. Like that, exactly. That would be what I would consider unhealthy, because because I'm not bridling my sexuality into the places where it's going to yield deep connection for me. Right. So,
well, this has been a good discussion, Tyler. I think these discussions need to be had because I think a lot of people struggling through this, both men and women, need permission to be sexual, and it's okay. And you can be a sexual being, and it's awesome. and you can be an awesome partner who creates trust at the same time. Both of those things can coexist. And accepting your sexuality is a critical piece to self-acceptance and recovery.
Yeah, we need to have another episode on this, Brandon, because I think there's a lot more that we could break down here, but good discussion today.
Awesome, you guys. If this was helpful, please leave us a rating and a review. We love your reviews, and have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys.
See ya.